Welcome to the Inspiring Tech Leaders podcast with me, Dave Roberts. So another week and another major AI update to talk about. OpenAI has introduced a preview of its latest frontier model, GPT 5.6 Sol, alongside two companion reasoning systems referred to as Terra and Luna. According to the company, these models represent another step forward in reasoning capability, coding performance, and reliability across complex tasks. According to the company, these models represent another step forward in reasoning capability, coding performance, and reliability across complex tasks. At first glance, this might appear to be another incremental improvement in a familiar pattern. Larger models, better benchmarks, improved outputs. But the more interesting question is not what GPT 5.6 can do, it is where it now sits within the broader ecosystem of AI development, regulation, and global competition. Because alongside the technical announcement, something unusual happened. Reports from major publications indicate that the release of GPT 5.6 was delayed following discussions involving the US government, including requests from the Trump administration for closer oversight before broader deployment. As we know, historically major technology releases were led almost entirely by private companies. Governments reacted afterwards, sometimes years later. Regulation tended to follow adoption rather than precede it. Artificial intelligence is now breaking that pattern. We're beginning to see a world where the release of advanced AI systems is not purely a corporate decision, but something that is increasingly shaped by government engagement, national security considerations, and regulatory visibility. To understand why this matters, we need to step back and look at the trajectory of AI over the last few years. We have moved from systems that could generate text with moderate coherence to models that can write production-level code, analyze legal documents, summarize scientific research, and support complex decision-making across a wide range of industries. Each generation has not only improved performance, but expanded the range of tasks where AI can operate with genuine usefulness. OpenAI, alongside competitors such as Google with its Gemini models and Anthropic with Claude, has pushed the frontier of reasoning systems into areas that begin to resemble junior analyst or assistant level capability across knowledge work. And GPT 5.6 sits within that context. According to OpenAI's preview material, GPT 5.6 Sol is designed to improve consistency in reasoning, reduce errors in multi-step tasks, and enhance performance in domains such as coding, mathematical analysis, and structured problem solving. The companion models, Terra and Luna, appear to be optimized for different reasoning intensities, suggesting a shift away from one general-purpose model towards a more modular AI ecosystem. Now that's an important development, because it reflects a broader industry transition. We're moving away from the idea of a single artificial intelligence system that does everything towards a portfolio approach, where different models are selected for different workloads, in much the same way organizations already choose different cloud services or compute configurations. This is particularly significant for enterprise technology leaders. It means AI is becoming less of a product and more of an infrastructure layer, something you configure, govern, and optimize rather than simply adopt. But while the technical evolution is important, it is not what has driven the headlines. The more consequential development is the emerging relationship between AI companies and governments. Reports suggest that the US government requested additional visibility or delay in the broader rollout of GPT 5.6, reflecting concerns around safety, security, and potential misuse of increasingly capable AI systems. Whether one views this as a prudent oversight or excessive intervention depends on your perspective, but the direction of travel is very clear. Governments are beginning to treat frontier AI as strategically significant technology, and that classification brings AI closer to other domains such as aerospace, defense, and critical infrastructure, where oversight is far more direct and structured. This represents a fundamental shift in the innovation lifecycle. For decades, the technology sector operated under a relatively consistent model. Companies innovated rapidly, released products to market, and regulators responded afterwards. That cycle worked, albeit imperfectly, for personal computing, the internet, mobile technology, and social media. Artificial intelligence challenges that sequence, because the capabilities being developed are not just tools for productivity, they are systems that can increasingly generate code, influence decision-making, simulate human communication, and interact with sensitive data at scale. That creates a different category of risk. Not necessarily catastrophic risk in every case, but systemic risk, the kind of risk that scales with adoption. This is why companies like OpenAI find themselves balancing two competing pressures. On one hand, there is enormous commercial and competitive pressure to release new capabilities quickly. On the other hand, there is increasing scrutiny from governments, enterprise customers, and the public around safety, transparency, and responsible deployment. That tension is not going away. If anything, it will actually intensify. For enterprise leaders, this creates a new strategic reality. AI adoption can no longer be separated from governance and regulatory awareness. Decisions about which model to deploy are now intertwined with questions about data residency, compliance requirements, intellectual property protection, and operational risk. In practical terms, this means AI strategy is no longer just a technology decision, it is a board-level concern, and that has implications across the organization. For technology leaders, it means building systems that are flexible enough to adapt as models change or become restricted in certain jurisdictions. For security teams, it means preparing for new threat vectors, including AI-assisted phishing, automated vulnerability discovery, and synthetic content generation at scale. For legal and compliance teams, it means understanding how data flows through AI systems and ensuring it aligns with evolving regulation. And for executive leadership, it means accepting that AI governance will become a permanent part of enterprise decision-making rather than a one-off implementation consideration. One of the most interesting aspects of GPT 5.6 is that it highlights how AI development is shifting from capability-focused innovation towards reliability-focused innovation. Early large language models were judged primarily on what they could do. Could they write coherent text, generate code, or answer questions correctly? Now the focus is increasingly on how consistently they can do it. Can they maintain accuracy across long reasoning chains? Can they reduce hallucinations? Can they behave predictably under real-world enterprise conditions? This shift is subtle, but it's extremely important, because enterprise adoption depends far more on consistency than occasional brilliance. A model that is highly capable but unreliable is often less useful than a slightly less advanced model that behaves predictably at scale. This is where competition between frontier AI models becomes particularly interesting. Companies like OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic are not only competing on intelligence benchmarks, they are competing on trust, safety frameworks, integration ecosystems, and enterprise readiness. And that competition is accelerating innovation across the entire industry. Every improvement forces others to respond. Every safety advancement raises the bar for responsible deployment. Every new capability expands the expectations of users and businesses alike. But at the same time, a new layer of complexity is emerging, because AI is no longer just a product category. It is becoming part of national strategic infrastructure. And that brings us back to the broader geopolitical dimension of GPT 5.6. If governments begin to influence or review frontier model releases, even informally, then AI development becomes partially shaped by national interest as well as corporate strategy. That raises important questions about global consistency. Will AI systems be released at the same time across different regions? Will certain capabilities be restricted in specific jurisdictions? Will organizations need to manage multiple versions of AI models depending on regulatory environments? These are no longer theoretical questions, they are emerging operational considerations. For multinational organizations, this could eventually resemble the complexity of data protection regulation today, where different regions impose different requirements on how information is stored, processed, and transferred. Looking ahead, several trends appear increasingly likely. We will see more specialized AI systems rather than single general-purpose models. We will see AI agents capable of managing multi-step workflows across enterprise systems with greater autonomy. We will see governance frameworks becoming standard practice in large organizations, similar to cybersecurity frameworks today. We will see increasing demand for measurable business outcomes rather than experimental use cases. And perhaps most importantly, we will see a shift in the skills that define successful professionals, from purely technical execution towards oversight, evaluation, and strategic use of AI systems. So where does this leave us with GPT 5.6? It is another step forward in capability, but more importantly, it is a signal of where the industry is heading, towards more powerful systems, greater integration into business processes, and increasingly involvement from governments and regulators in how these systems will be deployed. For technology leaders, the message is clear. The question is no longer whether to adopt artificial intelligence, the question is how to do it responsibly, strategically, and sustainably in an environment that is becoming more complex with every release. And perhaps that is the most important takeaway for this moment. We are no longer observing the early stages of artificial intelligence. We are now inside its scaling phase. And the decisions made now by governments, companies, and by leaders like you will shape not just the next product cycle, but the next decade of technological change. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in to the Inspiring Tech Leaders podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. You can find more insights, show notes, and resources at www.inspiringtechleaders.com. Head over to the social media channels. You can find Inspiring Tech Leaders on X, Instagram, Inspo, and TikTok. And let me know your thoughts on GPT 5.6. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in tech.